Captain Sun Kim sat in his office on the main Earth space station. His desk was covered with reports. 3 days ago, an alien ship had appeared above Earth without warning. The ship was huge and shaped like a smooth gray egg. It had sent messages, in many Earth languages, saying it came in peace. Sun rubbed his tired eyes. As the head of Earth's Space Defense Command, he had not slept much since the aliens arrived. The world's leaders had chosen him to be humanity's first official contact with the aliens. "Captain, they're ready to dock," said Lieutenant Yuna Bay through the comm system. Her voice sounded steady, but Sun knew she must be nervous too. "I'll be right there," Sun answered, standing up and checking his blue uniform one last time in the mirror. He straightened his metal pins and took a deep breath. The docking area was large and had been decorated with flags from all Earth nations. Sun stood at the front of a small group of Earth officials. There was Dr. Jin Lee, the top alien expert, General Han Choi from the United Military Command, and Ms. Do Park, the UN secretary. The airlock door slid open with a soft hiss. Sun's heart beat faster as the aliens walked through. There were 3 very different creatures. The first was tall and thin with pale blue skin and 4 arms. It wore a silver robe with many small jewels. The second looked like a large ant walking on 2 legs, with a hard black shell and waving feelers. The third seemed almost like a fish, person, with green scales and wide eyes, wearing a clear helmet filled with blue liquid. "Welcome to Earth," Sun said, trying to keep his voice even. "I am Captain Sun Kim of Earth's Space Defense Command." The blue 4-armed alien stepped forward. A small device on its chest glowed, and it spoke in perfect Korean, which was then repeated in English. "I am High Ambassador Mok of the Galactic Confederation," it said. "With me are Science Director Ziv and Security Observer Pell. We bring greetings from the 57 peaceful species of our alliance." They all moved to a large meeting room with a round table. Screens on the walls showed views of Earth from space. The aliens sat across from the humans, their strange bodies moving in ways Sun found hard to watch without staring. "We have watched your planet for many years," Ambassador Mok said. "Earth has now reached the technology level where we can welcome you to join our confederation. But first, we must complete our standard review process." "What does this process involve?" asked Dr. Jin, leaning forward with interest. The ant-like alien Ziv answered. "We must observe your social structures, your technology level, and—" It paused, its feelers twitching. "Your military capabilities." The room went quiet. General Han spoke up, his deep voice breaking the silence. "You want to see our weapons? Our armies?" "Not to assess threat," the fish-like alien Pell said quickly, bubbles rising in its helmet. "It is standard procedure. All species joining the Confederation must demonstrate their defense systems. We need to know what you can contribute to our shared protection." Sun looked at General Han, who gave a small nod. "As it happens," Sun said, "Earth is preparing for its largest military exercise in 10 years. It starts in 5 days in the Pacific Ocean. Military forces from 23 nations will take part. Would this satisfy your requirements?" The aliens spoke to each other in strange clicking and whistling sounds. Then Ambassador Mok turned back to the humans. "This would be perfect," Mok said. "We will observe from our ship above." "Actually," Sun suggested, "why not watch from closer? We could arrange for you to observe from one of our command ships. You would see everything better." The aliens seemed surprised by this offer. They talked among themselves again before Ambassador Mok agreed. "Very well. We accept your kind offer." After more talk about details, the meeting ended. The aliens returned to their ship to report to their leaders. When they left, Sun gathered with the other humans in a small side room. "Do you think this is wise?" Ms. Do asked. "Showing them all our military strength?" General Han laughed without humor. "What choice do we have? Their ship is 3 kilometers long. Their technology is far beyond ours. If they wanted to attack, they would have done so already." Dr. Jin was busy typing notes on her tablet. "This is a huge opportunity. We can learn so much about them while they're observing us." Sun nodded. "And we should make sure the exercise shows Earth at its best. General, please contact all participating forces. Tell them our plans have changed. This is no longer just a practice drill. What do you mean? Ms. Doe asked. Sun looked at each of them. The aliens said they'd been watching us for years, but I doubt they understand how humans really fight. Our history is full of wars against ourselves. We've developed ways of fighting that might seem strange to beings who have been at peace for so long. General Han smiled slowly as he understood. You want to show them something they haven't seen before. Exactly, Sun replied. Not just our technology, but our tactics, our chaos, our human way of war. What the humans didn't know was how right Sun was. The Galactic Confederation had indeed been watching Earth for many years, but there was much they had not understood. They had seen Earth's weapons and vehicles. They had learned Earth's languages, but they had never truly grasped how humans fought. The aliens believed in perfect order. In their military, every ship moved in exact patterns. Every soldier followed precise plans. They fought with beautiful, perfect formation. They were about to see something completely different, something that would shock them to their core. They were about to see the beautiful chaos of human warfare. The meeting room at Earth Military Headquarters was filled with top officers from around the world. The large screens on the wall showed maps of the Pacific Ocean where the exercise would take place. General Han stood at the front, speaking to the group. As you all know by now, we have visitors from space, he said, pointing to a picture of the alien ship. They want to watch our military exercise next week. Captain Sun has asked me to make some changes to our plans. A tall man in an American uniform raised his hand. Why should we change anything? This was planned for 2 years. General Han nodded. I understand, General Smith, but this is no longer just practice. It is Earth's first chance to show aliens what humans can do. He pressed a button and the screen changed to show the 3 aliens who had visited the space station. Our science team has studied their ship from a distance. Their technology is far ahead of ours. Their weapons could destroy our best ships, easily. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. But, General Han continued with a small smile, we think they have a weakness. Dr. Jin will explain. Dr. Jin Lee stood up, her tablet in hand. She adjusted her glasses and walked to the front of the room. We have watched how the alien ship moves, she said. It always follows the same patterns, perfect, exact patterns. We have also studied the messages they sent. They talk a lot about order and harmony. Everything they do is very organized. She showed a video of the alien ship moving around Earth. Its path was a perfect circle. We think their minds work differently than ours. They expect things to follow rules and patterns. Their military probably fights in perfect formations like ancient armies on Earth used to do. General Han took over again. So here is our plan. Instead of the normal exercise where everything follows a set schedule, we will show them something different. Something very human. For the next hour, they discussed the new plan. The naval ships would start in neat formations but then break apart and move in ways that looked random. The aircraft would fly in surprising patterns. The ground forces would use unusual tactics. Everything would look messy and disorganized to someone watching, but it would all work together perfectly. This is what made humans good at war, General Han finished. We adapt, we surprise, we do the unexpected. Let's show the aliens something they've never seen before. After the meeting, Captain Sun and Dr. Jin walked together through the hallway. Do you think this is a good idea? Dr. Jin asked. What if the aliens see our chaos as a threat? Sun thought for a moment. It's a risk, but I think it's better to show them who we really are. If we join their confederation, they need to understand how humans think. I hope you're right, Dr. Jin said. I've been studying the information they gave us about the Galactic Confederation. 57 different alien species, all living together peacefully for thousands of years. It sounds wonderful. Yes, Sun agreed. But I wonder how they handle disagreements. In human history, conflict has pushed us to evolve and improve. Without it, would we have advanced so quickly? They reached the transport that would take them back to the space station. It was time to prepare for the aliens' return. Meanwhile, on the giant egg-shaped ship orbiting Earth, the 3 aliens were having their own meeting. Ambassador Mock sat at the head of a round table. The walls of the room were clear, showing the blue earth below them. Science Director Ziv was projecting images of human cities, while security observer Pell floated in a small tank of blue liquid built into the floor. The humans have invited us to watch their military exercise from one of their ships, Mock said, all four hands moving as he spoke. This is an excellent opportunity to assess their threat level. Ziv's antennae twitched. I have analyzed their weapon systems. They are primitive. They still use explosives and metal projectiles, some nuclear weapons, but nothing like our plasma technology. Their ships are slow, Pell added, bubbles rising in his tank. Their aircraft cannot leave the atmosphere. Their space station is tiny compared to our smallest vessels. Mock nodded his blue head. Yes, their technology is behind ours. But remember, the Grand Council is interested in humans for another reason. Their minds work differently. They are unpredictable. Ziv clicked his mandibles in disagreement. All species are predictable if you have enough data. We have been watching them for 50 years. And yet, Mock said, they surprised us by inviting us onto their command ship instead of letting us watch from space. That was not the response our models predicted. Pell's wide eyes blinked. Do you think they plan to attack us? No, Mock said firmly. Our scans show their weapons could not damage our ship. I believe they are simply being hospitable, but we should remain cautious. He brought up an image of Captain Sun. This human will be our guide during the exercise. I will continue to study him. There is something in his eyes that reminds me of the Vorax hunters from the outer systems. The Vorax? Ziv seemed surprised. They were denied membership in the Confederation because they were too aggressive. Yes, Mock said quietly. Too unpredictable. Too dangerous. The three aliens looked at the image of Earth turning slowly below them. None of them spoke the thought they all shared. What if humans were like the Vorax? What if these creatures, despite their primitive technology, were too dangerous to invite into the peaceful Confederation? 5 days later, a small shuttle from the alien ship docked with Earth's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Freedom. It was a massive ship, though, tiny compared to the alien vessel in orbit. The deck was full of aircraft ready for the exercise. Captain Sun, Dr. Jin, and General Han waited as the three aliens walked down the ramp from their shuttle. The aliens looked around with interest at the busy deck. Welcome to the USS Freedom, Sun said. This will be our observation post for the exercise. From here you can see everything. Ambassador Mock nodded his blue head. Thank you, Captain. We look forward to observing your military capabilities. The group walked to the bridge of the carrier, a large room full of screens and control panels. Through the windows they could see other ships gathering nearby. In the distance, the coastline of Japan was visible. The exercise will begin in 1 hour, General Han explained. 23 nations are participating, with ships, aircraft, and ground forces. It will last for 3 days. Science Director Ziv studied a large map showing all the ships. Your vessels are arranged in a standard defensive formation, very orderly. Sun and General Han exchanged a quick look. Yes, Sun said with a small smile. That's how we always begin. What the aliens didn't know was that how we always begin was the only normal part of what they were about to see. Once the exercise started, nothing would follow the orderly patterns they expected. The humans were about to introduce their visitors to controlled chaos, the true art of human warfare. The morning sun sparkled on the ocean as the military exercise began. On the bridge of the USS Freedom, Captain Sun stood with the three aliens. They watched the large screens showing maps of all the ships and aircraft. We will begin with basic naval operations, Sun explained. The blue team represents defending forces. The red team will play the role of an attacking enemy. Ambassador Mock nodded his blue head. A simple scenario, we use similar training methods. On the screens, they could see 20 large ships in a perfect circle. Fighter jets flew above them in neat formations. Everything looked orderly and organized. Phase 1 begins now, announced General Han. For the first 10 minutes, everything went as expected. The ships moved together in formation. The aircraft patrolled in regular patterns. Science Director Ziv's antennae twitched with approval. "Your discipline is impressive for your technology level," he said to General Han. Then, without warning, everything changed. 3 submarines suddenly surfaced inside the defensive circle, submarines that weren't supposed to be there. At the same time, 5 ships broke away from the main group, moving in different directions at high speed. In the air, the neat formations of aircraft scattered like startled birds. "What's happening?" asked Security Observer Pell, bubbles rising quickly in his helmet. "Your formation is breaking apart." Captain Sun checked a small screen in his hand and nodded calmly. "Red team is launching a surprise attack. Blue team is responding." "But this isn't what was scheduled," Ambassador Mock said, all 4 hands moving in confusion. "The plan showed standard maneuvers for the first hour." Dr. Jin smiled slightly. "Plans change when the enemy does something unexpected. Our commanders must learn to adapt quickly." The aliens watched in growing confusion as the orderly exercise turned into what looked like complete chaos. Ships zigzagged across the ocean in no clear pattern. Aircraft dived and climbed randomly. The radio crackled with orders in 5 different languages. "This is disorder, not military action," Science Director Ziv clicked, his black eyes reflecting the moving dots on the screen. "On the contrary," said General Han. "This is controlled chaos. Watch what happens next." As they watched, the seemingly random movements started to make sense. The scattered ships were herding the enemy vessels into a trap. The zigzagging aircraft were creating a complex defense net. What had looked like disorder was actually a carefully planned strategy. "Fascinating," Ambassador Mock whispered. "They appear disorganized, but they are actually coordinating their actions." A loud alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed on the bridge. "What's that?" asked Security Observer Pell, his wide eyes blinking rapidly. "Unexpected scenario," General Han explained. "Blue team now believes an enemy submarine has breached their defenses and is targeting this carrier." On the screens, they could see the nearby ships changing course again, forming a protective ring around the USS Freedom. Above them, aircraft scrambled in new patterns. "But there is no enemy submarine," Science Director Ziv said. "This is just an exercise. In real combat, you never know what's real and what isn't," Captain Sun replied. "Our commanders must make decisions with incomplete information." For the next 2 hours, the aliens watched as one unexpected scenario after another unfolded. Nothing went according to the original plan. Every time the fleet established a new formation, something would disrupt it: a simulated missile attack, a surprise appearance by enemy aircraft, or a communications failure. "In the Confederation," Ambassador Mock said quietly to Captain Sun, "our military exercises follow precise scripts. Every move is planned and executed perfectly." "And in real combat?" Sun asked. "Does the enemy follow your script too?" The alien was silent for a long moment. "We have not faced real combat in over 300 years, he finally admitted. "The Confederation is at peace." Sun nodded, understanding something important about their visitors. "Peace is good, but it can make you forget how real battles work." After watching the naval exercise all morning, the group took a small aircraft to a nearby island. Here they would observe the ground forces part of the exercise. The island had been set up with a fake town for urban combat training. As they flew over, they could see hundreds of soldiers from different countries gathering in the practice town. Some wore the armor and helmets of modern infantry. Others were dressed in light clothing like special forces. Vehicles and equipment were everywhere. "Now we will see infantry tactics and special operations," General Han explained as their aircraft landed. "This phase will demonstrate how our ground forces handle urban combat." They walked to a tall building with a good view of the town. Inside, screens showed different areas of the battlefield. Soldiers wore cameras so commanders could see what they saw. "The scenario is simple," General Han continued. "Blue forces must capture the town center, which red forces are defending." The exercise began with blue forces moving carefully through the streets. They checked buildings, secured intersections, and advanced steadily toward the center. It looked like a textbook military operation. Your ground tactics seem more conventional than your naval approach, Science Director Ziv observed. Just then, all the screens went black. The lights in the building flickered and went out. "What's happening?" asked Security Observer Pell, his voice rising. A soldier ran into the room. "Sir, Red Team has used electronic warfare to disable all communications and power systems." General, Han smiled at the aliens. "Another unexpected scenario. Now our forces must adapt again." Through the windows, they could see the soldiers on the ground were already changing their approach. Without radio communications, they used hand signals, colored smoke, and even flags to coordinate their movements. Small groups that had been working separately suddenly joined together in new formations. But how do they know what to do without orders from their commanders? Ambassador Mock asked, clearly puzzled. "They've been trained to think independently," Captain Sun explained. "Each soldier knows the main objective. How they achieve it is up to them when circumstances change." As power returned to the building, the screens came back on. What they showed amazed the aliens even more. The blue forces had completely changed their strategy. Instead of advancing through the streets, they were now moving through buildings, breaking through walls to avoid the streets entirely. Some had climbed to rooftops to move above the battlefield. Others had gone underground through sewers. "This is not in any tactical manual I've studied," Science Director Ziv said, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "That's the point," Dr. Jin said. "If your enemy can predict what you'll do based on a manual, you've already lost." By late afternoon, the blue forces had captured the town center using methods that seemed completely random to the watching aliens. Different units had used different tactics, often changing their approach mid-mission. What looked like confusion was actually adaptation. As they returned to the USS Freedom for the night, the three aliens were unusually quiet. Captain Sun could see they were trying to process what they had witnessed. "Tomorrow will be the final day of the exercise," he told them. "We'll demonstrate combined operations, air, sea, and land forces working together." "I look forward to it," Ambassador Mock said, but his voice sounded uncertain. That night, after the aliens had returned to their guest quarters, Captain Sun met with General Han and Dr. Jin in a private room. "What do you think?" Sun asked. "How are they reacting?" "They're shocked," Dr. Jin said. "Their whole concept of military action is based on perfect order and predictability. What we showed them today goes against everything they believe." General Han nodded. "Tomorrow will be even more chaotic. Do you think we're taking too big a risk? Maybe we should show them something more normal." Captain Sun looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere up there, the giant alien ship was orbiting Earth watching. "No," he said firmly. "We need to show them who we really are. Humans don't fight with perfect order. We fight with creativity and adaptation. If they want to understand us, they need to see that." What Sun didn't say was the thought that had been bothering him all day. What if the aliens saw humanity's chaos as a threat? What if instead of joining their confederation, Earth was seen as too dangerous, too unpredictable? Tomorrow would be the final test, and much more was at stake than just a military exercise. As the naval exercise concluded, the observation vessel moved inland to witness the ground phase of Pacific Guardian. The location was a massive training ground in the Philippines, transformed to simulate an urban environment. "Now we will demonstrate infantry tactics, mechanized warfare, and special operations capabilities," Colonel Soyun explained as they hovered above the mock city. The aliens had somewhat recovered from their shock at the naval exercises and prepared themselves for more of the same controlled chaos. What they witnessed, however, exceeded even those expectations. South Korean Marines stormed buildings using wildly different entry tactics for each structure. American mechanized units deliberately exposed their flanks in ways that made no sense, until Japanese drone swarms suddenly revealed hidden defensive positions. Filipino Special Forces units moved in patterns that seemed completely random, until they converged simultaneously on critical objectives from impossible angles. "Your units aren't following standard doctrine," Ikshit observed, furiously taking notes. "Each commander appears to be improvising." "Within established parameters," Soyun corrected. "We train our officers to think independently while working toward common objectives." Rigid adherence to doctrine creates predictability, which is a weakness an enemy can exploit. The demonstration reached its climax when a combined force was suddenly confronted with a completely unexpected scenario: a simulated biochemical attack that neutralized all electronic communications. Without hesitation, units from different nations adapted, using everything from hand signals to colored smoke to coordinate a new assault plan in minutes. Ambassador Telk turned to June, his usual diplomatic composure noticeably shaken. In the Confederation, such improvisation would be considered dangerous and inefficient. Our military strength comes from perfect coordination and execution of established protocols. Different evolutionary paths, different solutions, Dr. Minji suggested diplomatically. Humans evolved as tribal hunter-gatherers who frequently had to adapt to unexpected threats and opportunities. That heritage is reflected in our military thinking. What the aliens were beginning to realize, though they couldn't yet articulate it, was that they were witnessing not just military exercises but a fundamentally different approach to warfare. Where Confederation species sought perfection, through order, humans harnessed chaos itself as a weapon. The final day of exercises featured a massive combined arms demonstration. Aircraft, naval vessels, ground forces, and even space-based assets all operated in concert to repel a simulated invasion force. To the aliens, it looked like pure pandemonium, until they began to discern the method within the madness. They're not just being unpredictable, Xchit suddenly realized, mandibles clicking excitedly. They're actively creating confusion as a tactical advantage. The chaos itself is weaponized. Plov's aquatic features were difficult to read, but his voice betrayed amazement. Each unit operates as though it has complete tactical autonomy, yet somehow they're achieving strategic cohesion. It's mathematically improbable. Ambassador Telk had been quietest of all, watching the exercises with growing comprehension. I believe I understand now. The Confederation's military doctrine evolved in response to external threats, other species we encountered as we expanded. But humans, we evolved fighting ourselves, June finished for him. Every tactic, counter-tactic, and counter-counter-tactic was developed against other humans who think as we do. We've been in an arms race with ourselves for thousands of years. As the exercise concluded, the diplomatic teams gathered on the deck of the Resilience for a formal reception. The mood had shifted dramatically from the first meeting. The aliens no longer viewed humans as primitive newcomers, but as something altogether different, and perhaps concerning. Ambassador Telk raised a glass in toast. To our new human friends, we came to observe your military capabilities as a formality. Before extending membership in the Galactic Confederation, we must now return to our leadership with a different recommendation. A tense silence fell over the gathering. The Confederation has encountered many species throughout the galaxy, but none quite like humanity. Your controlled chaos approach to warfare represents both extraordinary potential and significant concern. Telk paused. We believe humanity would be better suited as special military advisors to the Confederation rather than standard members. General Day looked puzzled. I'm not sure I understand the distinction, Shit explained. Standard members integrate their military into the Confederation's combined defense forces. Special advisors maintain independent military capabilities, while providing tactical and strategic consultation. Realization dawned on the human delegation. The aliens weren't offering mere membership. They were acknowledging humanity's unique martial capabilities as something valuable, and perhaps too dangerous to fully integrate. Dr. Minji smiled slightly. So what you're saying is, you want humanity as your chaos consultants. Ambassador Telk's translator struggled briefly before he replied. An imprecise but not inaccurate description. The ordered military minds of the Confederation could benefit from your unconventional perspectives. Captain June extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. I believe Earth's leadership will find your proposal intriguing, Ambassador. It seems we have much to teach each other. As the aliens departed Earth's orbit days later, they transmitted their full report to Confederation headquarters. The conclusion was simple yet profound. In a galaxy of order, humanity's mastery of chaos might prove to be their greatest contribution and their most terrifying weapon.